If thriller is your thing, then I'm going to be talking about 5 books in the first quarter of 2026 that I thoroughly enjoyed, and I think you should be reading them too. Well, thank you once again for joining me, guys. My name is Adam, otherwise known as Twitchy Pages, and as I say, I'm going to talk about my 5 favourite books that I think are either appropriately hyped or not hyped enough, and I read those in the first quarter of this year. So what are they? Well, strap on, there is going to be twists and there's going to be turns, and you might find that your head could possibly fall off reading some of these books. As I say, some of these are criminally underhyped. But which one first? Let's dive in. And the first book we're going to talk about is John Mars's The Good Samaritan. If you are aware of John Mars, you know that he is a fantastic writer. He really does do a good job on creating characters which you love to hate. Sometimes you do love them, but you generally love to really hate them and think, oh, if only I met you. But this is no exception. So The Good Samaritan, but what is this book about? Well, we all know the term Good Samaritan. It's someone that does a good deed, someone that supports, someone that's there to care for you, a Good Samaritan gesture, or working in the Good Samaritan when it comes to mental health. On that subject, this is a trigger related book, so please do check your triggers for mental health, suicide and death. It does contain a lot of that language and storyline here, so please check that before you dive into this book. It may not be suitable for you. But The Good Samaritan, as we talked about, this follows a main character by the name of Laura. Laura works at a call centre called End of the Line. This is where people will go for support, looking for that hero who can pull them out of a rut and really guide them to the light that they need at that time. These people are in crisis, they need that help and guidance. Unfortunately, Laura is not there to be a hero. Laura is there and she will throw you into the dark world and brain and mind of how she works. She wants to unalive people by giving them bad advice. She wants people to take that last step to unalive themselves. She does not want to support, and she gets off on all of these individuals going down that route. She is not a nice character, but John Mars, the way he does this is fantastic. As I say, his character writing, his character building, and just what he does to tell the story really shines through, and that is why he is my favourite author at present. This book is no exception. It is a fantastic read throughout, and I was turning the pages constantly. You may also think, well, why and how can someone get away with that? But she doesn't. She does get found out. So enter Ryan. Ryan is, his whole world has come crashing down. His wife has taken her own life and he wants answers immediately. His wife was one of the clients of End of the Line helpline, and Laura was someone that dealt with his wife. So effectively, did Laura make his wife unalive herself? Well, you have to read the book to find out. But Ryan comes in looking for these answers, wading in, and he knows that something is not quite right here at End of the Line helpline. And he wants those answers. He goes hunting. So the hunter, which is looking to unalive people at the end of the phone line, is now being hunted by Ryan with these answers. This goes on in a really good pace. As I said, this page turning was consistent. I wanted that one more chapter. John Mars's short chapters, bite-sized pieces of content in here to get through was exceptional as always. And for me, I rated this one very, very highly. I think I rated it a 4 out of 5, an exceptional read, as I say. It might have even been a 5 out of 5. I'll have to check that and put it on the screen here, so I haven't done my homework with that one. But this one should be on your radar. If you love the one from John Mars or the Passengers from him as well, you will definitely love this, and you know that he loves to mess with your head. This book I would advise reading prior to Dead in the Water. So if you're looking at reading Dead in the Water, definitely read The Good Samaritan first. There is a crossover of people and situations, so read The Good Samaritan first, followed by Dead in the Water. Can't stress that enough. If you've read Dead in the Water first, you still definitely want to read this one. It's one of his best. But this is John Mars in his element and thriving here, and one of my favourite books of Q1 in 2026. My second highlight of the quarter was Liz Nugent's Strange Sally Diamond. Now, this was my first ever Liz Nugent book, an Irish author with exceptional skills in storytelling. We've gone from The Good Samaritan of that thriller suspense and the dark theme. Now we're going into more of a psychological area and thriller sort of space. This one again comes with trigger warnings around abuse, violence, and also long-term trauma, so please again do check those triggers. This was probably my favourite read of the first quarter of 2025. Sorry, 2026, I'm taking back a year. This one, if you follow me on Instagram or TikTok, you will know that this cover for me just didn't hit the spot. I saw it for months on end in the bookshop, Waterstones, and I just thought, what is this? But eventually this grew on me, and I've had a good laugh back and forth with Liz Nugent across Instagram messages, and we've shared the love, and it's all good. So thank you, Liz, I appreciate you taking my feedback on. But you know I love this cover now. So for me, have you read this book as well? This is one of her best. I haven't read many of her others, but everyone says this is her best. But what is it about? Well, Sally is a unique individual. Strange Sally Diamond is a unique individual. She is literal, and that is her downfall. So imagine if your father says to you, when I go, just chuck me out with the rubbish. This is exactly what Sally does. Her father passes away, she puts him in bags and just puts him out next to the rubbish as if nothing's happened, as if she's taken out a cardboard box. It is hilarious the way that she is so literal. Now, this stirs up a lot of interest. The media, the police investigate. Why have you put your father out with the rubbish to be taken away? All hell breaks loose with this situation and this story. Sally just doesn't understand because that's what her dad said to do, so she's gone and done it. That is how her neurodiverse brain works. There is another side to Sally as well. So on one element, the storytelling is around Sally in present day, and then we have another point of view, which is Sally back in her childhood. So it's a voice telling the trauma and the difficulties of her childhood, which she doesn't remember. And this is potentially why Sally is the way that she is. This just really blew me away. The writing was exceptional. Liz Nugent's character building and storytelling was first class. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. My rating here from the story that I read in January really stayed with me. Many people said when you read Strange Sally Diamond, this is a book that will stay with you forever, and this has done. I regularly think about Strange Sally Diamond in a non-weird way. I would love to go for a cuppa with her or lunch, but I know Sally wouldn't like that. She doesn't like touch. She doesn't like social situations. She doesn't want to really be around people. She finds it difficult, but yet she wants to try and make friends or spend time with people, but finds it so hard. So Strange Sally Diamond was my favourite read of probably this year, or one of my favourite reads of this year, but definitely my favourite read in the first quarter of 2026. If you haven't checked out Liz Nugent before, definitely check her out. As I said, she is an Irish author. She's got many other books, and she's had a recent publication in March 2026, which is The Truth About Ruby Cooper. It's meant to be a very good read, and that is something that's on my radar right now. I do over there, it's not on my bookshop, I do over there have a catalogue of books that I order on Amazon. So there is a bundle of 5 Liz Nugent books, including Strange Sally Diamond. So if you are looking to pick this up, don't pay the £10 if you can afford it and have the money and you're very interested in this author, or you want to take a gamble. For £33 on Amazon right now, I think it is, there is a bundle of 5 books right now that have reduced from about £75. So there, hopefully that might save you some money. That is the UK as well, so if you're outside the UK, please do check and don't hold it against me. And at the time of recording this in April 2026, that offer was available. But that is my second top choice of 2026 quarter one. And next up, we have one of the most unique books I have ever read, and one book which I don't think I've seen a bad review on since knowing about this book for the last 6 months, and that is Jason Rekulec's Hidden Pictures. Well, why is this unique? Think of a reality versus supernatural. This is so unique, and when I say this is something you have to see it to understand that we have images in this, and I'll tell you about the story in a second, but we have images from childlike images that a 5-year-old has drawn there that start getting more and more detailed, and lots of visuals like this, which are quite disturbing. So this is a story which follows Mallory, who is a nanny. She is fresh out of rehab. She is looking to get her life back on track. She lands a nanny job with the perfect family, the most beautiful family that have a son called Teddy, who is 5 years old. They live in a picturesque house. It's absolutely stunning in a gorgeous suburbs, but something is not right. Whilst looking after Teddy, she notices that he is drawing many pictures, from the childlike one, and they start progressing right up to the dark and gruesome one. Many of those carry images of a body or a monster dragging a body through the woods. But why is this happening? This is where the element of supernatural comes in. My first piece of advice I have to stress, do not audiobook this book. Again, do not audiobook this book. If you do, you will just not understand the pictures that relate to the story, and you cannot relay that information as to what they are, how they make sense to the story, and how all of these come around. I mean, just the uniqueness of the book itself and the story. Yes, every kid can draw pictures. Well, most kids can draw pictures like that. It's probably better than my drawing, to be honest, and I'm 42. But most kids can draw pictures like that. But when they start getting gruesome and dark like that, something is not quite right. Now, Teddy keeps talking about somebody called Anya, who is effectively kind of like an imaginary friend. But is Anya making Teddy draw these pictures? And why is he drawing them? What is the big secret around this? Mallory is really confused. It escalates to the parents, where they take away his crayons and his paper so he can't draw anymore. And they start to believe that Teddy isn't drawing these pictures, but he is. So why is he doing this? When I tell you this is a book that left me like jaw on the floor, this is a book that left me with my jaw on the floor. I did not know the ending. Every time I thought I had it sussed out, I didn't have it sussed out. And the ending really left my head wobbling. I was like, what on earth was that? I didn't see it coming. It's not something I guessed. And if you tell me that you've guessed it, I'm going to call you out and don't believe you. But Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak was a fantastic book. I highly recommend this. And if I could suggest probably one unique book today for you to take from the 5 that I'm going through, this one would be it. It wasn't my favourite of the quarter. I had better reads, although this was excellent, top tier. If you had to pick one book, I am always pointing people at the moment to this book as well. You can pick this up in the UK on Amazon for around £8.99 right now, and it is available in many shops I've seen as well, like Waterstones, for example, so check your stockist there. No trigger warnings really, I would say, with this one, but it is a bit of a supernatural vibe to the story, as I mentioned at the start of this one, so definitely recommend this. And my review is here for why I rated this one, and it is something which I think you will really enjoy, and one that many people recommend across social media that I see, but I don't see it get enough hype and hope as well. So definitely let's get this one back on the radar of people. I know a lot of people have got it on their TBR, and I think you need to push it a bit forward. But that is my 3rd book of Q1 2026 that I thoroughly enjoyed and I recommend you should read. Book 4 that I will recommend is a January read that I read as part of my first ever book club experience. So I joined the Reading Room in Brighton, and Izzy, who runs that, and read this as the January read. This is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. This is fantastic. It was something completely different. It was kind of unexpected. Now, I say these are my 5 thrillers of Q1. There is an element of thriller to this, but this majority of it is mainly around mystery and just the story in general. This is so beautifully written, and the experience I had with this was fantastic. I gave this 5 stars actually, and I didn't expect to. I've seen this is very like Marmite. There's a lot of people that either love this or hate this. But what is it about? Well, this follows a family called the Salt. So Dominic Salt and his 3 children. They are on a remote island that contains the world's largest seed vault. So if anything happens in the world, the seed vaults are there to be able to regrow and regenerate these items again. This island is known as Shearwater. It is based between New Zealand and Antarctica, and many of the workforce there have left to go back to the mainland. Now the Salts, Dominic and his 3 children, as I say, who occupy the island currently, they are due to go back to the mainland within a couple of weeks. However, mystery unfolds when Rowena, a body, washes up, and they bring her in, look after her, and nurse her back to health again. Rowena is there. Why? Well, that is the big question. She is there looking for her husband. She starts getting ingrained in the island and the work and what goes on there. She also is part of the family in a way. She becomes part of the family there. The fact that she gets very close with the children and also Dominic Salt. Rowena is there looking for her husband who has gone missing. But has he gone back to the mainland, or is there more mystery to that? Well, I won't say more about that. This one, as I say, was a fantastic read. Don't expect this one to be a page-turning, real twisty-turny book. This, from start to finish, had a consistent story to it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was something I didn't expect to like. It was something completely different. It took me away from the real fast-paced popcorn thriller to really enjoy a book and take it in. The writing was exceptional. The scenery is fantastic. If you look at Charlotte McConaughey's Instagram and her socials, she shares some of the images and the videos she used to actually go to an island that she based this book off of. She took a trip there with her family and really looked at the wildlife, the scenery, to put this masterpiece together. As I say, that I thoroughly enjoyed this book, and it was something completely different to me. But have you read this one? Is this something that you will read? I know there's been a lot of people put off by the comments and the feedback that have been around this book. For me, as I say, this is a bit of a Marmite book. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think most people at the book club did. But have you read this one? Or if not, is it on your radar? It was huge around sort of December, November, I think it was, when there was a lot of hype on social media for it. Now, my 5th and final book is something from Kindle Unlimited I read whilst I was in hospital, and it's a real hidden gem, and that is Faith Gardner's The Prediction. Now, I am a huge fan of Faith Gardner. I don't see her discussed enough or enough praise on her. I've read Breakneck Bay, Mirror House Girls, fantastic books, and this was no different. This focuses on the theme around AI, and we all have AI available at our fingertips. We all have something along a digital assistant, whether that be our phone or an Alexa, for example. But what would you do if one day that told you that your husband was going to kill you? I think we'd all freak out, right? Well, In this one, it is no different. This is a domestic thriller with a bit of a sci-fi twist to it, and this will leave you turning those 282 pages very, very quickly. So what happens in the story? Well, we follow our main character, Rowena. She is a new mum. She's struggling with isolation, panic attacks. She's an ex-editor out of New York City, moved away from the city, and she is really struggling to adapt to her new life. However, her husband, Jacob, is out with his large tech firm that he works at, but he does one day bring home a gift in the name of Maxine. Now, Maxine isn't just a speaker to play music. She is your digital friend. She is there to command, help you, really navigate the challenges through you. Now, to confirm any command, Rowena must say, "Amen, Maxine." Now, at first, it is a godsend. Maxine helps Rowena through some of her mental struggles, give her tips, organises her life, but then Maxine's predictions get darker and darker and darker. She starts predicting things that happen outside of her home and happen on the news. I won't say what they are, I don't want to spoil the book, but now she really comes for Jacob. Rowena is stuck in the middle of a nightmare. Is her husband going to kill her when Maxine says that this is going to happen? Or is this machine just glitching? Is it completely freaking out? It does have a little bit of a horror kind of twist to it. What I really loved about this book and Faith Gardner's books in general is the fact that the tone is just so brilliant. It's really funny but serious at the same time, the way she builds up characters and the story itself, but the way Rowena interacts with Maxine, having to say like amen like she's in a tech cult, is really brilliant. So the commentary on how we worship our gadgets, it's almost like a gaslighting way. This is where the intensity comes from. Jacob really wants Rowena on medication. Now, Rowena thinks that Jacob is hiding something and trying to get her on medication to do something bad. And once your digital device tells you your husband is going to kill you, it makes him trying to get you on medication look even worse. So the anxiety kicks in. However, we start seeing more around what Maxine can do, the reliability that Rowena has on Maxine as well. And this really, as I say, is relevant in day-to-day life as we're in now. We're all involved in this tech environment, tech world that we live in. Now, just a heads up, this book does take a hard turn in the second half. It moves away from the witty suburban satire and it really becomes quite dark and really more like a survival thriller. Some people find the ending a bit of the kind of love it or hate it situation, but for me, the twist at the end I thought was really good. I was like, wait, what? It happened so fast and it really came out of nowhere. The prediction for me was a 4-star read, a solid 4-star read, and once again, Faith Gardner delivered for the book that I wanted to read. Now, if you've ever felt like your phone was listening to you, I think we're all guilty of that. When we get on Instagram and Facebook, we see those there. We all think that. We get the adverts that pop up. This certainly does make you think about technology. So would you trust a machine over your partner? I would love to know in the comments if that is something you would do, if not. Or would you just throw the speaker out the window and think that it was broken and get it in the bin as quickly as possible? Like I say, this is a fantastic book from Faith once more. If you haven't seen any of her other books or read any of her back catalogue, please do. It is a fantastic read, whatever book you pick up from Faith Gardner. They are my 5 books that I've thoroughly enjoyed in the first quarter of 2026. But what about you? What books would you recommend in 2026? Are there any books that are overhyped that you think, or books that are really hyped? But I would love to know what you read and what you recommend for the first quarter of this year. Until then, thank you so much for joining me again, guys. This is only my second YouTube video, so appreciate any feedback below or any comments that you've got. And if I've got this far, I would love a subscription to the page. Ding that notification bell, as they say, to get notified when my new videos upload. Until the next one, happy reading.